What's up, guys? I am currently on my way to go view Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it is 54 degrees out, so I'm super smart. I got my thermals on though, so I'm fairly okay, but this traffic blows. Speaking of super smart, if you haven't seen my video where I looped my Benelli, well, it wasn't a true loop. I dropped my bike and it sucks, so I'm still pretty upset about that. You should go check that video out. Actually, just, you know what, here's the gist of it. Yeah, so that sucked. Did not enjoy it. So now I gotta get some parts, and they're super hard to find because the Benelli is very rare, and I had to contact Benelli themselves. I really only need the left and right rear fairings, and the tail light is actually I don't know, it's scratched up. I want to fix it, and I kind of just want to put it back on there because I don't want to get a whole new tail light. It's not super bad. It's the reason I bought the Benelli, but I just still feel bad that I dropped it like that. Like, its whole purpose was to be expendable so that I don't wreck another Ninja. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about some monster movie. I'm going to see Godzilla, and it's cold, and I hope to see minimal dialogue and maximum whoop ass. Like, I want 3 to 5 lines of dialogue and a whole bunch of monsters and powers and fighting and stuff. So it doesn't look too crowded up in here today. I would like to hope not. It's a freaking Monday, and I'm the only dork out here deciding to go to the movies on the motorcycle. Yeah, hope for minimal dialogue. Hope for some good visual effects, obviously, because it is a CG heavy monster movie, and the trailers have been seriously badass, at least to my liking. I don't know about you guys, but haven't watched any spoilers, although I'm immune to spoilers. I just chose not to for this movie because you can literally tell me the movie line by line, read me the script, and I'll still go watch it. But I'm doing a whole lot of head moving here because I don't want to get dead. I'm gonna ride up in here, hop off the old Ninja. Oh man, that's a school bus. Oh, this is not gonna be good for me. So catch you guys in about 2 hours and 3 minutes, but you'll have no idea because I know how to edit videos. See you in a bit. Okay, so I'm back. Super quick 2 hours for you guys, not so super quick for me, but very well worth it. So first off, I gotta say, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was straight up old school, how I grew up monster movie with some good plot storyline tossed in there. So I gotta say, visually it's like a combo between Kong Skull Island and the original Godzilla, the 2014 release, because there were some dark scenes, but there was a ton of very well lit beautiful scenes with all these freaking monsters running around, and it was great. So I don't know if I'll be able to do this one all the way. I'm gonna try to get the main points, but of course I'm gonna miss something. But you guys got to check this movie out if this is your type of movie to go see. No stop sign, but I always check. So beginning the movie, enter our hero Godzilla. So he's already there. This is very not very, it is exactly the scene from the end of the movie of Godzilla 2014, where he woke up and was walking out of the city. You hear his customary roar, scream, and then enter our main human protagonist, Mr. Kyle Chandler. He has been in a ton of things. I don't know what else off bat right now, but you'll recognize his face when you see him. And our female lead role, Vera Farmiga, don't know how to say her name. They are husband and wife, and they are looking for their lost child in the rubble. While she clutches her other child in her hand, he's screaming for the child's name, and then fade to black. So you can pretty much take it from there that the child died, and some stuff happened. And then it goes to some news articles, reports and stuff about Godzilla and Monarch and how they're no longer in the shadows, and crap, it's in my pocket. How they're no longer in the shadows, and basically their whole organization is out now. They are been found out for hiding these monsters. Their press wants to know how many monsters there are, and they need to join the government and all this other stuff. And then you see Vera Farmiga's face. I'm sorry, I think I got that out of order. So that came after you see Vera Farmiga's face. So what happens is she's staring up at Godzilla as the rubble off the building start to fall, and her face, she blinks and opens her eyes, and it's her face again at her new home with her daughter. Her daughter's in the living room kitchen area, and she is in her bedroom working on some type of device. Oh no, I was right, because I was talking about Monarch. So they allude to a lot of Monarch stuff, and then they show her closing a laptop or some type of device with the Monarch symbol on it. So you're like, holy crap, is she a disgruntled victim of this Monarch corporation? Did she join the fray to get back at them? Did she join them to help find the monsters? Like, what is her purpose with Monarch? You don't find out till much later in the movie. So she closes her device, pans to the daughter in the living room kitchen area. She's speaking with the dad. Dad no longer lives there. You can allude from the first scene that, of course, due to the kid's death, they broke up, split up, separated, and he's gone off to do other stuff. He's, I guess, a conservationist type guy, sending pictures of wolves to the daughter. Daughter's like, all right, Dad, talk to you later. I'm worried about Mom. And then Mom comes in, bacon on the stove burns. She gets up to grab it, and Mom comes in. She closes the laptop. Oh, sorry to mention, the daughter is played by Millie Bobby Brown. I believe she was in It. She's been in a bunch of other stuff. I don't think, Stranger Things, one of them. She's pretty popular. I don't really know her too much, but she is the daughter of the couple with the lost son. So enter her. She's doing her thing, corresponding with the dad, and the mom's like, hey, what you working on? She's like, recipes for bacon and toast. She goes, okay, you got me. Dad's been contacting me. The mom asks, have you responded yet? Daughter says no, but I was going to, type deal. So they are having their conversation. All of a sudden, power goes out and their house comes back on. Their whole house shakes, and you hear some crazy screech, and you're like, what the crap's going on? So they pan outside of this nice house to the jungles of China, and like some old ancient ruins that kind of look like a pyramid. It's a Chinese pyramid. They have pyramids in China. And then they go back to her walking through the research setup, and enter her assistant. Don't know this guy's name, but he's not in the movie very long. All of a sudden you see her assistant. They're walking down the hallway, and you see a giant picture of a moth. You know what's coming next. You know it's Mothra. So they get to the scene where he goes through and says, hey, something's happening. This thing wants to wake up. And they show the pupae? I don't know what they are before they're caterpillars. So basically the caterpillar busting out of this container it's in. It's not a cocoon yet. The caterpillar's basically being born, and it's flipping out. And of course, random research goons are always way too close to the creature than they should be, and they're pissing it off. So the guy looks at it, he goes, Dainese something, the genus and species, the scientific name of the monster that they gave it, and then the girl, basically our resident monster expert, says his normal human name, which is Mothra, or her, it's a girl. And it goes from there. The thing breaks loose. Well, you find out that the device that Vera was working on is a communicator of sorts. It maps the animal's sonar communication pattern, the same one that they Bryan Cranston discovered that they communicate with in Godzilla. She has found a way to map it and basically use it as a communication device, calming device, or enraging device, something like that, or a beacon locator. It's got multi-functions, but for the most part, she uses it to calm Mothra down. Enter main bad guy. Main bad guy, he has been in a ton of stuff. He's in Underworld. He usually plays an aristocrat or some type of royalty. I don't know if he was in Game of Thrones, but they did make a king reference, and it comes up twice in the movie. So I've never seen Game of Thrones. Don't blame me. I'll watch it when I watch it. So he shows up and kills everybody. Everybody. The whole lab. Done. Her assistant, everybody outside, everybody inside. They capture her and her daughter, and Mothra escapes. Fade to Kyle Chandler. Oh, sorry. Fade to a Senate hearing. The main person presiding over the hearing is a very famous actress. I am upset that I can't remember her name right now, but she has been in tons of movies as well. and all the old crew from Godzilla 2014 is there. Pretty much all the old crew. Aaron Taylor Johnson does not make an appearance in this movie. So Ken Watanabe's there. His doctor/assistant is there, co-doctor. A new guy enters the fray as, I guess, a technical advisor or technical expert. And General Stens, or Admiral Stens, is there, like the Navy admiral that helped them in the last movie. So it's like an all-star reunion of these guys from the first movie. So they're in the congressional hearing talking about the need to save the monsters, and the military wants to kill the monsters, and you know, the normal back and forth that you see in movies with the pro and cons against leaving giant monsters alive. So Ken Watanabe, of course, is pro Godzilla, 100%. So they're arguing back and forth. They're arguing their various points, and then they get a message that their research lab has been attacked, and they basically are informed that the girl and Vera and her daughter have been abducted. Next scene, they have airdropped in an Osprey to Kyle Chandler taking pictures of his wolves. He scares wolves off. He gets pretty pissed, and they look at him, and he looks at them, and he's like, all right, what's going on? Where's my daughter? So he joins the fray. He is now back in the fight that he left years ago. Come to find out, he works for Monarch. They both worked for Monarch at the time. So their family was already involved in the organization. They didn't get pulled in. Okay, you're caught up. So they explained to him that an eco-terrorist, the bad guy number one that I introduced, has pretty much raided the site, killed the folks, kidnapped his wife and daughter. And he's like, okay, why would they do that? Well, she built the device. He designed the device and then destroyed it. After all that hubbub happened in 2014, he was like, you know what? It was a college program. I decided I didn't want it. It was causing too much trouble. Well, the wife remembered it. She rebuilt it, and now she's calling monsters. And they have located tons of them, like tons of them. Ken Watanabe at one point says there's 17 and counting after Godzilla. So that's 18. So there's Godzilla plus 17. Simple math. I might start teaching physics now. So he says that Kyle Chandler's flipping out. He's saying, hey, this guy's got an ulterior motive. He's already an eco-terrorist. He wants you to start chasing Mothra so that you can take your eyes off the prize. He's hunting the bigger one. That's just his assumption. And everybody's like, no, he's not hunting the bigger one. Something else is going on, because they've already captured 3 of them. Captured, or I don't know what they did with them. They've already compromised 3 of them. So they're just going from site to site, killing people and trying to release the Titans. And this device is helping them pacify them so their crew can get in and out without dying. And then they let them do what they got to do in order to do whatever ulterior motive they have for these monsters. So nobody knows who this organization is, but they just know that he is a eco-terrorist. And then, good lord, there's so much going on in this movie. They fade back to Vera. They have now reached a site in Antarctica. So you're trying to figure out what's going on here. And nobody knows except a few key members of the panel. Of course, Ken Watanabe knows, his doctor knows, and another group of people know. Enter Z Zhang. She's been in a ton of stuff, like a ton of stuff. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, a lot of Asian films, a lot of martial arts films, but she, I think, was also in Geisha? Memoirs of a Geisha? I think so. So she's pretty cool. She's a good actress. And oh, I'm sorry, this whole room is full of advisors. There's tons of people. Like this room has almost everybody who's going to be in the movie for the remainder of the movie in it. O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube, who played Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton. Another person from Straight Outta Compton, links to this world, the legendary series Monsterverse. You got Aisha Hines. She's been in a ton of stuff. Dr. Stanton is played by, I can't remember his name. He's a funny dude. Good lord. I mean, this room is packed full of people. So, the small group of people who's listening to the male doctor, geez, I just forgot his name, talk about how Godzilla is pretty much the main target and they don't want him to be hunted by the eco-terrorist guy. He's like, nah, something else is going on. There's another monster. They call him Monster Zero. And they know he's in Antarctica. So, okay, cool. By this time, the helicarrier Osprey took, Jesus Christ, I can't remember his name, Kyle Chandler, to their base of operations, which is in the middle of the ocean and somewhat in a cave. Like, they land on this thing and it goes underground and there's cave walls, but it's underwater. Super weird. And all of a sudden they have a way to track Godzilla, because everybody else said nobody could track Godzilla. Well, they knew how to track Godzilla the whole time. They just weren't telling the general public. They could track Godzilla based off the technology that him and his wife helped invent. Therefore, they use it as a tracking device as well. So I told you this thing's got multiple uses. Okay. So, back up to snuff, back up to speed. We are now going to Antarctica, the Arctic. And they're already there. The bad guy team is already there. The mother and daughter are in place. Her device is set up. Now, they have killed another team of folks, researchers, started drilling holes in this giant block of ice. So this giant block of ice holds a 3-headed monster that they call Monster Zero. And they're going to release it. So they start drilling the holes. They start planting explosives. They've already killed the team. Good guy team arrives in short order, and now they have tried to sneak up on the bad guy team, but the bad guy team set up a booby trap. They walk down the hall, blow up all this stuff, start picking off random army people left and right, and then all of a sudden things start getting really, really hairy. Kyle Chandler runs off the helicarrier, the Osprey. This has now brought them there, grabs a gun, goes to go rescue his wife and daughter, runs to the wife at some type of, there's always a suspension bridge of some sort in these movies, just because they need something to fall. Runs to her, sees the daughter, and is like, yo, I need you to run straight towards me. In the meanwhile, Aisha Hines has taken up a perch up high so she can get a shot of the bad guy. She's got him in her sights. Another random bad guy goon runs up, tries to get the girl. She shoots him, and main bad guy, eco-terrorist, ducks behind something. Well, this is happening. Vera is staring at her husband, ex-husband, and then calling her daughter back. I'm like, what is happening right now? I don't get it. She's working with the bad guys the whole time. She let her squad, her whole team get killed. You know what? I think I'm gonna go up aggression today. She let her whole team get killed, which is freaking crazy, and the daughter was well aware of it. So the daughter stops going towards the dad's call. Dad's super perplexed. He's like, what is going on here? Daughter goes back. Vera picks up the detonator for the bombs that they placed into the ice, and she looks at him and says, run. And then pulls the trigger, blows up the whole facility, releasing Monster Zero. I was like, holy crap. So, sorry, before all this happened, I said I'm gonna miss a lot. Godzilla made a little appearance in their underground, or not in, outside of their underground location, because he is also being affected by this device that's waking and calling and tracking the monsters. So he's coming up to see what the hubbub is about, and then he runs up on their lair, circles it, makes some threatening appearances, flashes his spikes a couple times, and then they're like, hey, this is a show of aggression. We need to go ahead and let him know we're not a threat. And they're like, yeah, we're pretty much not a threat, but yeah, let's go ahead and follow that advice. So they open their blast shields, let Godzilla calm down. They're reading his heart rate and all this other stuff, showing that he's pretty amped up about this thing going off, and he's trying to track the other monsters. And he knows what's coming. He can sense Ghidorah. I let the cat out of the bag. He can sense Monster Zero. So he's headed to Antarctica, making a beeline for this other team. So, back up to speed once again. They're in Antarctica. Monster Zero has been released. He's flipping out. He is tearing up the entire facility. Everybody's running. Lots of people are dying. Like, tons of people are dying. They lost a lot of army guys. Lots of ships were destroyed. Lots of helicopters. All their transportation was pretty much knocked out. And this thing, you see one head, you see two heads, you see the third head pop up, and you're like, holy crap. I know who this is, but they don't ever really name him till like the middle of the movie. So he runs up, starts just mashing out on everybody. Unfortunately, he's throwing stuff around, and in a random bit of rage and anger and just straight up monsterness, he kills Ken Watanabe's friend, the doctor, the female doctor. So she's done for the rest of the movie. She got dead. Godzilla has now appeared, and they are having a pretty epic fight. Godzilla tries to handle him up. He does some moves on him, does a couple tail thwacks, and Ghidorah, dang it, Monster Zero, slaps him around. Godzilla goes to hit him with the throat blast, his dragon's breath or whatever, and completely misses. All three hands dodge the beam, and then they charge up, zap him with lightning. He's pretty much down for the count, and then Monster Zero flies away like crazy. Basically, he goes and takes off, and the team's like, what the crap? So now they're chasing this thing around the globe, and along with chasing the other monster in the bad team, which is now, realize that Vera is on. She's one of the bad guys. They're just going from site to site to site, releasing these monsters. So now they went to, I believe, Mexico. So they're going to release another monster in Mexico. And then Ghidorah was just, dang it, Monster Zero is flying around, creating a storm. He's creating a hurricane as he flies. Freaking crazy. Now, Mothra was just behind a waterfall at this point, in a cocoon. Nothing's happening. So they run through all of this stuff, all of this trouble. They get across the planet like freaky fast in this movie. They must work with Jimmy Johns. So they are flying now to Mexico to stop this other monster from being released, which of course they don't. They release the monster. They think they're tracking his team to Mexico, but somehow Vera has figured out how to do this stuff remotely by just playing it through the speakers. So they hack the location. The bad guys hack the location in Mexico, and she plays her signal through their speakers, and she released all the quarantine protocols and lockdown protocols on this monster. So it starts to wake up. She plays the signal. It cracks through the top of a mountain covered in lava. Turns out it's freaking Rodan. It's a giant murder vulture covered in fire and lava. It's freaking awesome, and it looks really, really cool. So Ghidorah starts making a beeline towards Rodan because he sees him as competition, which they explain to you later. But Ghidorah, god dog it, he's not Ghidorah yet. Forget I keep saying that. He's still Monster Zero. So they see that this storm is coming right towards them. It's coming right for us. And they are trying their best to outrun it. And they're like, why does this storm move like that? They didn't know, which they just figured out. Dr. Stanton pointed it out. That's not a storm. That is freaking Monster Zero creating this freaking what you think is a hurricane. So they're doing all this stuff, trying to figure out what's going on, as all these monsters are waking up, trying to figure out why this team's doing this. And then they get a phone call from Vera. She calls them straight up like Skype style, like pops up on the screen and was like, I'm doing this to save the planet because they need to restore balance. Basically, the Titans exist because we as humans are an infection, and they're basically white blood cells. They're here to fight the infection. So Ken Watanabe's like, bro, what are you talking about? You're nuts. You have no idea what you're doing. Yeah, that might be true, but you cannot control them the way you think you can, and Godzilla is here to restore order. Nobody listens. She's like, y'all got 5 minutes to get out of the area. I'm doing this. And the whole time, the team didn't want to believe that she had, turned coat and became a bad guy. So she plays the signal, releases Rodan. He comes out, starts just staring at everything. So they're like, well, in order to save these people in this town, let's pick a fight with them. So they start shooting with missiles. He takes off flying, and they made everything completely worse. Like, as soon as he flapped his wings, he created like a sonic boom and an air burst, and it just blew up the city and starts dragging people down the passageways and corridors and alleys. It was horrible. So they did not succeed by picking a fight with him. So he's chasing all these fighter pilots around. I need to get some petrol. And it becomes a pretty epic air battle scene with Rodan, a bunch of fighter pilots, and he is picking them off left and right. He's doing like twirl moves, he's thwacking them out of the air. It's pretty sweet. All the while, they're dying. They lost the entire freaking fighter pilot escort. And then, of course, their main goal was to get him to the storm, which they did. He flies headfirst into the storm. Somehow did not realize he was flying headfirst into another monster right at the last minute. He looks up. There's Monster Zero. And then they start their epic mid-air battle. So they're fighting. Of course, Monster Zero hands it to him. Drops him in the ocean. And then perches himself on top of Rodan's volcano and asserts his dominance, shoots lasers and lightning out of his wings, and then is like, I'm the man, I'll run this. Pretty cool. Man, it is so much in this movie. I might have to just cut this short and say go watch it. But, so all of this is happening. Godzilla is trying to catch these guys. So they have now looked at the myths and legends for Monster Zero, and they have determined what his name is. You may now call him Ghidorah, which meant something monster. I forgot. It's in the movie. They'll tell you. Ziyi Zhang is the one who finds out the myths and legends about it. Godzilla's playing catch up. They're all of a sudden releasing more monsters than scheduled because Ghidorah has taken control. And it's exactly what Ken Watanabe said. He's like, you cannot control this thing. The monsters start responding to Ghidorah directly instead of this device. So the device now has no sway. Take receipt. Didn't print a receipt. Okay. So the device now has no sway. He's waking them up with his alpha powers. His communication pulse, or whatever it is they use, is waking these monsters up. And nobody can control the outcome. So you got some benevolent ones, you got some evil ones. But now they're all just following his lead, and they literally are just on a rampage. So even if they want to be peaceful, they're doing whatever he's telling them to do, which is freaking crazy. So he's just in a permanent position of roosting, I guess, over Washington, D.C., because why not? Why wouldn't he go to the nation's capital just because he's super mean monster guy? And these things are just flipping out. So Vera figures it out that maybe, hey, we should do something about this. Eco-terrorist dude is like, yo, you came to me. This is what you wanted. So we're going to let this play out. She ends up blurting out over the loudspeaker. Somehow her daughter hears it in the bunker they're in. Oh, I'm sorry. They're hiding in the bunker because that's where they're doing all their stuff remotely. They're like, I'm not going out there with the monsters. We going to do this from the crib. So they're doing all this stuff remotely, and I guess she hit the button to speak with her daughter, who was locked herself in another section of the bunker because she's super mad at her mom because she didn't sign on for this to basically destroy the world. And you know, moms and daughters are having issues right now. So she overhears Vera saying that this device can be broadcast from Fenway Park and basically stop all of this stuff from happening. So the daughter escapes, of course, with the device, goes to Fenway, plays it, because these monsters can hear this thing from wherever they are, no matter how loud it is, and they just stop. They all stop, except Ghidorah, because he's the main monster. He goes to investigate the noise and starts just making a beeline straight for Fenway Park. Now all this stuff's happening. Godzilla had a major role in between all of this. He fought Rodan. Rodan and Godzilla, in the meanwhile, right before King Ghidorah displayed himself as king, before he jumped on Rodan's perch, Rodan was actually fighting Godzilla in the ocean. Godzilla and Rodan were slapping each other up, and then Admiral Stintz joins the party once again. He said the military's been working on a bomb that will kill anything within 2 miles, and he told his team to get out of there. It was like an air bomb or air depleter, something fancy they called it, and basically it killed everything within 2 miles. So they dropped this bomb through the storm after Ghidorah left and went to the mountain, and it hit Rodan and Godzilla. Rodan flew out of the ocean, or King Ghidorah flew out of the ocean. God, did I screw that whole thing up? Well, rewind that and replace Rodan with King Ghidorah, because Rodan was just slapping around the army dudes and he got whomped up by Ghidorah. He was out of the picture. Ghidorah was fighting Godzilla, and then he got hit with the bomb. So Godzilla ripped his head off, and then they started fighting in the water. They both got hit with the bomb. Godzilla didn't resurface because the thing pretty much killed him. You know he comes back at the end of the movie because it's Godzilla, but he was done. He was like in stasis mode. There was no more fight left in him. He retreated back to his lair. Ghidorah labeled himself king, and then he grew his head back. He Wolverined another head back out of his neck. It was crazy. So you come to find out that you go back to Ziggy Zhang, and she's like, well, studying the mythology of this thing, the locals pretty much said he's not from around here. He's an alien. And then Ken Watanabe's basically like, yeah, he's an invasive species. So I'm like, oh crap. Yeah, get that slow lean. I done it. So he's an invasive species, and he's an alien. So Godzilla not only is a Titan, but he's an Earth Titan. Now you gotta fight an alien Titan? Like, well, I don't understand that, but it's still awesome. I already knew that because I grew up watching Godzilla, but still, a lot of people don't know that. It's a pretty cool story aspect. Okay, so where are we now? We are in Fenway. So now Ghidorah has got to Fenway. He's looking for this device. The girl somehow snuck by all of these military dudes. This is an evacuation zone, by the way, and has made her way into Fenway's broadcast booth or announcer booth and played this thing over the loudspeaker with nobody noticing. Kids got skills. So Ghidorah is there. He's trying to figure out where the noise is coming from. He takes out the speaker tower, and then the only thing left to broadcast the noise is the device itself, which she has in her possession inside the booth. So he looks at the booth and just gives it the old lightning mouth. She runs out. He's blasting this thing with all three heads, destroying the entire park, and she's now outside in the open, basically getting chased by a three-headed massive Titan monster. Freaking crazy. So he's blowing up stuff. She gets blasted across the ground, drops the device. He stomps on it, you assume, and crushes it. And that's that. So she gets up, runs away. Meanwhile, Kyle Chandler is on his way there with his team. Vera is on her way there because eco-terrorist guy told her, hey, your daughter ran away with the stuff. She's like, I'm gonna go get my daughter. He said, nah, we're gonna stay here. You can go if you want, but you ain't taking none of my dudes. So she takes the Hummer, runs off to go rescue her daughter, and then they all kind of meet up at Fenway. Now, somehow they managed to work together to find their daughter. She is the bad guy. Like, at this point, there is no work together. But since Kyle's team got to Fenway, all their vehicles have been destroyed. Their planes have been destroyed. Half their team's been wiped out by Ghidorah. As soon as they stepped off their Osprey, he blasted 3 of them to dust. Period. They were done. So she's the only one with a working vehicle. She rolls up with a Hummer, opens the door, says, get in. And he was like, alright, I'm gonna get in. So they go looking for the daughter. O'Shea Jackson Jr. is in the back arguing with another troop that's been injured. Say, yo, if my parents were these two, I'd run away too, run away from home too. And they say, what'd you say? I'd run away from home. So that gives them the clue that she went back home because they are from Boston. Nice little story. They're going to wrap it up because they lived there. The only place she knew was safe was to go back home. So they go back to the home to find her. The home has been demolished, gone. They see a little hand sticking out of the rubble. It's her hand. She's passed out. She got saved by a giant old school tub that was in their house. So she's in the tub, safe. She's passed out. They wake her up and then go, hey, we found the device. Somehow they found the device that was crushed by King Ghidorah, and they're going to use it to try to draw him away from the area to give Godzilla a fighting chance. Now, I left this part out on purpose this time. I didn't forget. Godzilla got injured. Like I said, he was pretty much dead. Ken Watanabe and the other scientists tried to figure out where he was. They found out that he was below water, went through the hollow earth that they brought up in Kong, Skull Island, that they got hollow earth theory, and he basically was in his own lair. They find him in old, like, pre-civilization ruins before the Romans, before the Egyptians, before everybody, with him on these murals and stuff on the wall, and basically he was one of the gods. So he's done. He's down and out. He's trying to absorb and feed on radiation in his lair, but they're like, this could take years, we need to speed this up. So like in the Godzilla Part 1, when they kept trying to kill the Mutos with nukes, all they ended up doing was feeding them. They decided to get a very high yield nuke to feed Godzilla. So the submarine that they put this thing on was damaged during the route there or whatever, so it can't fire the nuke into where Godzilla is. Somebody has to walk it in there. They have to get in a manned submersible vehicle, and walk this thing up to Godzilla's dinner table pretty much. So of course, his #1 fan, Ken Watanabe, decides to sacrifice himself for this mission. Everybody's like, you sure you want to do this? He's like, look, he saved us, I'm gonna save him. I have to do this. So he boards the device, or he puts the device on the ship, boards the submersible. They're like, we can give you a couple drugs to counteract these effects. You can do this, you can do this. But basically, it's so hot and so radioactive in there that you're going to die in a few minutes anyway. He says, I understand. He takes their precautions, preventative measures, dons his suit, and jumps in. So he travels all the way there. The submarine has now backed out, and they're hauling ass to get out of there because the nuke's about to blow up underwater. He gets out of his submersible, walks up these long stairs. Somehow Godzilla didn't crush these stairs. Walks up these long stairs, sits the nuke down near Godzilla, walks up and says, goodbye, old friend. Which is freaking crazy. Godzilla opens his eyes, looks Ken Watanabe in the face, and then kind of acknowledges him. And then this thing goes off, and it blew up everything. It blew up the ruins, it blew up the underwater layer, it blew up everything. It shot the freaking submarine out of the water that they were in. Blew it, I mean, everything. They just gave Godzilla the largest scoop of pre-workout you've ever seen in your life. So Godzilla is now juiced up, like juiced. So he comes out of the water. He stares at everything. He's breathing all nostrils flared, and I mean, he is glowing so bright. And then he just blasts off this dragon breath, and it like blows up the sky. So he let off a little bit of frustration right then, and then he looks down at the submarine, which everybody is now on top of it outside staring at him, and basically acknowledges they're not a threat, stares at Kyle, and basically recognizes him because they stared each other down when he did his circling passes under underwater layer. So whew, there's a lot. So now Godzilla is on his way to Fenway. Now we're back to Fenway. The girl has been rescued from the tub. She is now revived. The mother, daughter, dad are working together to fix this device somehow in the rain. Like, even know anything about electronics, soldering and powering up a circuit when it's wet, it's pretty much a no-go. But they somehow do it. They get it to work. Now the device is going off, and King Ghidorah is none too happy. So he is now facing them, running them down. They have one Osprey left. Osei Jackson, Kyle Chandler, Billy Bobby Brown, they all try to get on this thing to leave. And of course, Vera Farmiga is running towards them, and she sees Ghidorah coming, and she's like, you know what? I done goofed. This is my fault. I'm gonna take one for the team. And then she turns to run, and she tries to outrun a monster whose neck could just reach down and grab her. So she's running, she gets in the vehicle, peels out. They do the customary silence at this part, but they do the screaming, like the daughter screaming, but it's super quiet because they take the sound out of it. It just gives a little dramatic effect. So she's taken off. They fly away. Ghidorah's like, I'm not chasing you. And then he just blasts the truck, and the truck blows up, shoots her out of it. It flips over a couple times. She lands on the ground. Now, before all of this happened, Ghidorah and Godzilla were fighting. Juiced up Godzilla came and was whomping on Ghidorah hard. But Ghidorah ended up biting down on a power plant, a substation, getting charged up. Like, he's mostly lightning based. I don't know how to describe his powers, but it's lightning based. So he bit this power station, and then he zapped Godzilla. Godzilla went down again. Now, like I said, he's juiced up. They have an unexpected effect by zapping Godzilla or blasting him with that nuke. It overpowered Godzilla. Even Godzilla didn't know what was going on. Dr. Stanton figured it out. He was like, I'm reading his vitals. Something's going on. He's about to go thermonuclear. We need to get out of here. So Godzilla got whooped. Rodan came back. But Rodan came back not for Godzilla. Rodan came back for Mothra. Because while Godzilla was getting whooped, Mothra came in and just spadoodled all over Ghidorah's face and glued him to a wall. Ghidorah is breaking loose. Mothra's doing another secondary round because she broke through her cocoon a little bit earlier in the movie, and she, Z Zhang, has proclaimed her as queen of the monsters. Basically, Godzilla's the king and she's the queen. They don't have a relationship, but they do have like a deal to where they worked it out pretty much. They keep balance, and you don't know this, but they're pretty much teamed up. So she comes to rescue Godzilla once he got downed by Ghidorah, which was freaking nuts because you forget about Mothra until you see that blue streak of her wings flapping, and then that's pretty much it. So she is then attacked by Rodan. They have a fight. Now Rodan's bigger than Mothra, which is freaking crazy. So, but Mothra's got like spiky claw things. So they're handling each other. Godzilla and Ghidorah are handling each other. Godzilla is downed. Now Ghidorah is chasing Vera Farmiga. So Rodan and Mothra are still battling. Rodan is pretty much handling Mothra because it's a moth and he's a lava bird. His fire caught her wings on fire and she couldn't fly anymore. He had her pinned up against the wall and she's clawing at him. He's biting at her head and misses. And then all of a sudden, Rodan just like, ugh. Like he got stabbed. You're like, holy crap, Godzilla whipped. Mothra's got a stinger. She stung him right in the chest. Rodan goes down. Mothra goes down. She's exhausted. Her wings are burnt. And then she goes to fly off, but can't. So she just rests there on top of a building. Now, she flies over to protect Godzilla from another blow from King Ghidorah right before he chases Vera Farmiga. And she gets whomped. Like, she goes to protect Godzilla. She flies towards King Ghidorah, and he blasts her with all three heads. Turns her into powder. That powder kind of lands on Godzilla and kind of seems to charge him up just a little bit. You don't really see what's happening, but you kind of think that's what's happening. So now, back to Vera Farmiga once again. I know I'm doing a lot of jumping around, but there's a lot of scenes going on. So, she has now just laid out on the ground, just with the cripple, like, my back. She's staring up at him. And like I said earlier, the eco-terrorist guy had a Long Live the King reference. When King Ghidorah took over the lava mountain, he said, Long Live the King. Because Ghidorah was the champ now. Godzilla was done. After Ghidorah chased Vera Farmiga at the end of the movie, after he found the device, blew up the truck, she's out there laid out, he's about to eat her, or smash her, or do something to her. He's gonna kill her. She about to get dead. She looks at King Ghidorah and says, Long live the king. Godzilla is up, and he is right behind him, and he has gone thermonuclear. Everywhere he walks, everything is melting. Like, it's literally just turning into puddles. He is red Godzilla, completely on fire, and it's freaking crazy. So as soon as she says that, Ghidorah sniffs and he smells something burning, and it's Godzilla walking up on him, and he just starts, wow, that was epic right there. He starts whopping Ghidorah like nobody's business, like blasting him with not only his lava, or his normal fire breath, but he's hitting him with like a lava fire thermonuclear burst, like it radiates in all directions. So I'm gonna say Vera got dead on this scene because there's nothing that can survive that. So Godzilla's just bashing him. He's whooping his ass, and then he starts blasting out these beams of power, and then he steps on Ghidorah's chest, and then blasts him once again, and then done. You're like, holy crap, this is freaking awesome. Fade to black. Godzilla is freaking nowhere to be found right now, and then all of a sudden, Ghidorah's head's popping up. You're like, dude, what the like, come on, he's got to be dead. He's dead. Godzilla's chewing his head. He's eating the last head, and he just blasts it for good measure. And then he does his Godzilla scream, and all of a sudden you see all these other monsters walking towards Godzilla, and then they stop, and he just looks at them, and then they all just kind of acknowledge him as the king. And then he looks down at Rodan, like Rodan killed his partner, Mothra. Or, well, he didn't kill her. He made her death possible. Rodan is still alive and bows to Godzilla. Freaking awesome. Pretty much the end of the movie. There is an after credits because eco-terrorist guy got away. But they show a bunch of cave paintings at the end of the movie, and then they show one painting where there's a giant gorilla fighting Godzilla. So there's another legend. Of course, they're going to allude to Kong versus Godzilla, which is going to be released, I believe, early 2021. So, in the credits, eco-terrorist guy recovers a head of Ghidorah. And I don't know where they're going to go with this. It's just a head, but I think they're going to go with the Mecha Ghidorah storyline. Like, if you watch some of the old Japanese Godzilla movies, there is a Mecha Ghidorah. There's a robot version of Ghidorah. I don't know if they're going to use some fancy technology or if they're just going to try to clone him. I don't know. But, like, it's nuts. So, it's crazy. Well, that's it, guys. I really can't hold on to any more of this knowledge. I got to let it go or I'm going to pass out. I'm sure I missed a lot. You really got to check this movie out. It is super packed full of stuff. Packed full of action. Some good dialogue, but I mean, it is a monster movie to its core, and they did it justice. You know, you can't go in there thinking you're gonna watch The Notebook. It's a monster movie. If you like monster movies, you need to check out Godzilla. Catch you later.